guess a home game for you and the Apex. As much as you've been here, like you get any feel, any nerves, any excitement when you walk through the doors anymore? Or is it just like checking into work?
Yeah, obviously it's a fight in the UFC on the biggest stage, and so you're gonna get those nerves. But I've been here, like you said, a bunch of times, and especially during COVID, it was like I think 5 or 6 in a row I had here. So I'm a bit comfortable with it now, and it feels like I'm just going to spar at the gym again.
Yeah, not a lot of 6'1" guys in your weight class, yet they found another one for you. I guess so. Did you change anything in your approach in getting ready? Like, do you try to find? I mean, you don't have a lot of partners in your weight class your size, right?
Yeah, you kind of gotta find guys, a weight class above you, and kind of maneuver it that way. But I took Sean Woodson on 3 days' notice, and he's 6'2.5", and he's a Golden Gloves boxer. So I'm not necessarily too worried about being able to hang with a guy my length. I fight kind of short, and I feel like Fernando fights a little short as well. So I feel like we're just gonna kind of slug it out on the feet.
How about the experience level? I mean, obviously you've got droves of it compared to him. You remember what it was like coming in for the first time. I mean, can you use that to your advantage, or is a fight a fight?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know what's going on with him. I'm not him. I don't know. I don't even hang out with him. I have no idea about what's going on in his own brain. But when I was coming off the Ultimate Fighter, I was 14-2. He's 14-4, and I was about the same age as he was. I had my UFC debut. I won that by split decision, but it was tunnel vision when I walked out there. I was so starstruck. You go out there, you see the commentators, you see that it's real. And not only is it his debut, but he hasn't fought for a couple of years, and to fight a guy like me is it's not a fun out for anybody's debut. I'm 6-6 in the UFC, so I'm a 50-50 record, but it's the experience that comes behind it, and to me, it's we were talking a second ago. I feel like I'm just going out and sparring again. And so I'm going to be comfortable in there, regardless if he is or not. So if he's not, it's going to be detrimental to him, and that'll be my advantage.
You mentioned that layoff. Getting ready for a guy that hasn't fought in that long, right? I mean, do you expect that he's going to look different, or you expect because you could evolve a lot in that time away, right? You could be a totally different guy than the last tape you saw. So do you expect hey, we got to be looking for new wrinkles, or do you think a fighter's a fighter and he's going to fight that way?
Yeah, I think in 2 years, especially a kid his age, you can really make leaps and bounds in your skill sets and your ability to adapt and become better. But I feel like everybody has their strengths, and when you get into a high pressure situation, you fall back on those things. Like, of course, I want to go in there, keep my hands up, and throw straight punches. But what happens is once I start getting a little bit of a high pressure situation, get comfortable. You start to fall back on the things that you feel you're the best at, and for me, it's slugging it out a little bit. And so even though I go in there with a game plan, it kind of falls apart a little bit, and not necessarily because of my game plan's not working. I'm just, starting to feel more comfortable, and I'm letting go a little bit more.
All right, so last thing for me, I know we talked earlier, and you said, you want to be patient. You don't want to go in there and brawl. Is that something you have to practice every day? I mean, how do you keep yourself from falling into that when that's just kind of who you are and really what makes you exciting to watch?
Yeah, exactly. I think the best way to answer that is in the Steven Peterson, the fight that I had. If you go back and rewatch that fight, the first round I was disciplined and everything went exactly to plan. Second round was a completely different fight, in the third round as well. So, even though you go in there, with a certain way about you and a skill set, or a game plan on mine, it doesn't necessarily happen the way it should. And the Dawodu also was a good example of me fixing that problem. With Dawodu, it was like first round was exactly how I wanted to go, and instead of resorting into brawling it out, I stuck with the game plan and really finished that fight out with that game plan.
Hey, Julian.
How are you?
Were you confused about the matchmaking with Fernando?
Not necessarily. I mean, the UFC has their own ideas about what they want to do with certain guys, and so I figured, honestly, I didn't really figure anything. They offered me, and I said yes. I was looking to fight about that time, and so it really didn't matter who it was. I've never really said no to guys. I've only said no to times because of obviously weight cuts and that kind of thing. You want to have a decent amount of time getting ready for fights, and so I usually just say yes to everything. But I'm in the position now where I want to be a little bit smarter with my picks. But there's a handful of guys, that could be top 15, top 20 in the UFC that they could have given me that are tougher outs, I think, in the sense of experience.
And just last thing for me is, what did you learn from your last fight against Alex Caceres? It was a big fight. It was one that you were kind of asking for, man. But
Yeah.
What was the biggest thing you learned from it?
Just specifically from the fight, I want to just be more defensive early on. Because I didn't think Caceres had that one strike knockout power, but he hit me with his hardest weapon, which is a rear kick to the head. So even though I didn't think he had the power to knock me out with one shot, that's his number one power move. So I need to be aware of those things and not let those things happen again.
Thanks, man.
Of course.